The clock on the wall of the Zatishny Kutorok Cafe showed 10:30 in the evening. Amanda White was tiredly wiping down the tables. "Only half an hour more," she whispered to herself, trying to ignore the aching pain in her back. The cafe was not in the best neighborhood. The owner of the cafe, Margaret, despite her stern personality, took care of the atmosphere. The windows were decorated with pretty checkered curtains, the walls were covered with old black and white photos of the city, and the small kitchen always smelled deliciously of home-cooked food. "Thank you for visiting. Have a good evening," Amanda said, as she saw the last of the visitors off. Finally, she could sit down and eat her dinner, which she had been putting off all day. The cook, Thomas, had left her a portion of his special borscht and a cutlet with mashed potatoes before he went home. He knew that she often skimped on food, paying off most of her salary to pay off old debts. Suddenly, some movement outside the window caught her attention. Amanda came closer and saw a little boy leaning against the wall of the house across the street. "Hey, kid," she called out. The boy flinched and started to run away, but Amanda quickly added, "Wait. I just want to offer you some dinner. You must be hungry." "I don't have any money," the boy replied quietly, shifting from one foot to the other. "My name is Amanda. I work here," she spoke calmly, trying not to scare the child. "The borscht is still hot, and our cutlets are the best in the neighborhood. Shall we go inside?" The boy nodded slowly and timidly approached the door. In the light of the cafe, it became apparent that his dark hair had not been washed for a long time, and a bruise was visible on his cheek. "I'm Theodore," he said as Amanda led him to the nearest table. "But everyone just calls me Theo." "How old are you, Theo?" Amanda asked, placing a plate in front of him. 11, he answered, looking at the food with greed. "Eat, don't be shy, and I'll make you some tea," Amanda smiled. She watched the boy eat slowly at first as if he was afraid that the food might be taken away, but then, realizing that no one was going to chase him away, he began to swallow greedily in large chunks. "Theo, be careful, don't rush off like that," Amanda said gently, putting a cup of hot tea in front of him. "Will you tell me what you're doing out alone so late at night?" The boy looked down, picking at the remains of the mashed potatoes with his fork. "My mom is sick. She's in the hospital. And I ran away from the orphanage. It's bad there. The older boys fight and take the food." "And your dad? Or maybe you have other relatives?" Amanda asked cautiously. "I don't know my dad. And my uncle, he's far away. Mom said he was a businessman and very busy," Theo answered without looking up. At that moment, something rattled in the kitchen. A pot lid fell off. Theo flinched at the sharp sound and straightened up, ready to run away. "It's okay. Don't be scared," Amanda reassured him. "Would you like some more tea?" Theo shook his head and slowly got up from the table. "Thank you for dinner. I have to go now." "Wait," Amanda looked at the boy with concern. "It's already dark and cold outside. Maybe you'll stay here? I have a spare room upstairs." "No," Theo answered firmly, although fear flashed in his eyes. Amanda realized that she could not force him to stay. She quickly went to the kitchen and returned with a paper bag. "Here's some food for tomorrow. And here," she wrote a phone number on a napkin. "This is my number. If you need help, call me anytime." Theo took the bag and the napkin, hesitated for a moment, and then suddenly gave Amanda a quick hug. "Thank you. You are kind." And before she could reply, he was out the door, disappearing into the darkness of the street. Later, lying in bed, she could not sleep for a long time. "Lord, protect him," she whispered into the darkness before finally falling asleep. The morning sun was barely breaking through the window of the small kitchen of the cozy corner cafe. Amanda was mechanically chopping vegetables. After last night, when she had given her lunch to Theo, she hadn't been able to eat properly. There was still a week left until her paycheck, and she had a pittance in her wallet. "Good morning," Martha greeted as she entered the kitchen. Oh, you're here already? I thought you had a late shift today. I decided to come in early to help with the preparations, Amanda replied, not looking up from her work. Martha came closer and looked at her friend intently. You look pale. Yeah, I just didn't get enough sleep. Amanda tried to sound cheerful, but at that moment her own stomach betrayed her, grumbling loudly. You didn't eat breakfast again. Martha shook her head. Listen, I brought some sandwiches with me. No, no, thank you, Amanda quickly replied. Amanda White. Martha crossed her arms over her chest. I've known you for 3 years. Don't lie to me. What happened? Amanda sighed and put the knife down. She knew she couldn't hide the truth from Marta. A boy came to the cafe last night. He was so thin, scared. I gave him my lunch. What? Martha's hands flapped. The same lunch that Thomas left for you? Amanda, are you crazy? What was I supposed to do? Amanda flashed. You should have thought of yourself. Martha sat down on a chair and lowered her voice. Amanda turned to the window. Of course she hadn't forgotten. Every day reminded her of it. You see, this boy, Theo, his mom is in the hospital, in a coma, and he ran away from the orphanage because he was abused there. Oh, great, Martha exclaimed sarcastically. So you're going to save all the street children in the city now? Amanda, wake up. You can barely make ends meet yourself. At that moment, Thomas came into the kitchen. Girls, we're opening in an hour and you're chatting here? Sorry, Thomas. Amanda quickly returned to her work. By the way, Amanda, the cook looked at her. How did you like yesterday's borscht? I tried a new recipe. Amanda felt herself blushing. It was wonderful, Thomas. Thank you. The day dragged on endlessly. Amanda worked mechanically, delivering orders and clearing tables. In the evening, while clearing the last tables, Amanda found a nice tip under a napkin, almost 50. Just in case, she said to herself, hiding the package under the counter. At home, lying in bed, Amanda looked at her phone. No calls from an unfamiliar number. She hoped that Theo was okay, that he had found a safe place to sleep. 4 days had passed. Amanda had almost resigned herself to the idea that she would never see Theo again. Amanda had just finished wiping down the tables after the lunch rush when she heard the distinctive sound of car brakes outside her window. "Oh my God!" exclaimed Martha, who looked outside. "Look at that handsome man." Amanda went to the window. A luxurious black Mercedes stopped in front of the cafe. The car looked so out of place in their neighborhood that several passers-by stopped to look at it. "He must be lost," Marta muttered. "Cars like this don't drive in our neighborhood." A tall man in an immaculate dark blue suit got out of the car. He looked about 45 years old, with gray hair on his temples that only added to his solidity. He quickly looked around and walked confidently to the entrance of the cafe. The bell above the door jangled melodiously. The man stopped at the threshold, looking around the room with a careful eye. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for Amanda White." Martha almost dropped the tray she was holding. Amanda felt her heart skip a beat. She took a step forward. "It's me." The man looked at her carefully. "May I speak with you? In private, if possible." Sure." Amanda looked at Martha uncertainly. "We can sit at the table in the corner." They settled down at the farthest table. The man waited until Amanda was seated before sitting down himself, a gesture that betrayed good manners. "My name is Robert Klein," he introduced himself. "I'm Theodore's uncle." Amanda felt her hands shake. Is he okay?" Robert smiled weakly. "Yes, he's fine now. He told me about you, how you fed him when he was hungry, how you gave him food to take with him and your phone number. He found you." Amanda still couldn't believe what was happening. "No," Robert sighed. "I found him. By accident. Imagine this. I came from Germany for important negotiations. I was walking back from a business lunch and suddenly saw him. My nephew, whom I hadn't seen for almost a year, sleeping on cardboard boxes outside a supermarket. His voice was trembling with emotion. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know it was that bad. My sister, his mother, she was always proud. She never asked for help. She said that everything was fine, that they were coping. And now she's in the hospital," Amanda said quietly. "In a coma," Robert nodded. "Severe pneumonia, complications. They couldn't afford normal treatment. And at that time, I was signing multi-million-dollar contracts in Europe." He took out an envelope from his inside jacket pocket. "I want to thank you for your kindness." "No," Amanda replied sharply. "I don't need to be thanked. I just couldn't do anything else." "I know," Robert said gently. "Theo told me everything. How you tried to convince him to stay. How you were worried about him. He said that you were the first person in a long time who looked at him not as a homeless person but as a human being." Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes. What's going to happen to him now? "I'm taking them both to Germany," Robert answered. "I found the best clinic for my sister. Theo is already enrolled in a private school. No one else in my family will be in need." He held out the envelope again. "You're welcome. This is not a handout. It's a thank you from a man who has been reminded of the most important things in life." Amanda hesitated. At that moment, Thomas looked out of the kitchen. "Amanda, your favorite borscht is boiling here. Do you want some?" She remembered giving her lunch to Theo. She remembered her empty wallet and the constant feeling of hunger in recent days. But most importantly, she remembered the boy's eyes as he hugged her goodbye. "Mr. Klein," she finally said, "I can't accept your money, but can I call Theo sometimes, just to know he's okay?" Robert looked at her for a long time, then slowly put the envelope away. "You know, Miss White, now I understand why my nephew couldn't stop talking about you. I have another proposition for you." He took a business card from his pocket. "My company is starting a charity fund to help children. We need people who understand the problem firsthand, who have a heart and enough sense not to make rash decisions. How about changing jobs?" Amanda looked at the elegant gold-embossed card in confusion. "But I'm just a waitress. I have no experience." "You have something more important," Robert interrupted her. "You know how to see people, and you know how to help them in a way that doesn't degrade their dignity. This is exactly what we need." At that moment, the bell above the door rang again. An elderly couple came into the cafe, and Marta gave Amanda a pleading look. She clearly needed help. "Think about it," Robert said, standing up. "Call me when you've made your decision. And thank you for everything." "What did he want?" Martha whispered as they met at the coffee machine. "I'll tell you later," Amanda replied. "You won't believe it anyway." Robert Klein's business card stayed in Amanda's apron pocket for 3 days. Every evening she would take it out, look at the elegant letters for a long time, and put it back. Doubts were plaguing her. "You're not going to say no, are you?" Marta asked when Amanda finally told her about the offer. "This is the chance of a lifetime. What if I can't handle it?" Amanda nervously wiped the already clean cups. "I don't know anything about charity or organizing events." "But you know how to take care of people," a familiar voice said. Both women jumped. Robert Klein stood in the doorway of the cafe, as elegant as he had been the last time. "Good afternoon, Miss White. I never got your call." Amanda looked at Martha in confusion, but she had already disappeared into the kitchen, leaving them alone. "I'm still thinking," Amanda replied. "Good," Robert agreed, unexpectedly easily. "Then I have a suggestion, a little test, if you will." He sat down at the counter and pulled out a folder. "Children's Day is in 2 weeks. Organize a charity event here in your neighborhood. The budget is €2,000. You have complete freedom of action. If everything goes well, we'll talk about a permanent job." Amanda felt her throat go dry. 2 weeks. But how? "It's part of the test," Robert smiled. In real work, you often have to act quickly. Here, he handed her a bank card. Here is money for the organization. The only condition is that the event must really help the children, not just entertain them for one day. And if it doesn't work out, Amanda asked quietly. Then you'll just keep working here, he stood up. Think about it. You have until tomorrow to make a decision. That night, Amanda hardly slept. She looked at the ceiling and thought about Theo, about other children who might need help. In the morning, she called Robert. I'm in. You know what I noticed? Martha said one day as she helped Amanda sort through the donated items. You seem to be glowing from the inside out. I haven't seen you like this in a long time. Amanda could feel it herself. For the first time in a long time, she woke up with joy, with a sense of purpose. Every day brought new challenges, but also new discoveries. She decided to do more than just organize a party. She spent part of the money to buy school supplies and clothes. She arranged with the local clinic for free checkups for the children. She found a hairdresser who agreed to cut the kids' hair for school. The day of the event was sunny. The small square in front of the cafe turned into a bright island of celebration. Balloons, music, children's laughter. But the main thing was the line of parents who came to get real help. At the end of the day, Amanda was exhausted but happy. She was sitting on the steps of the cafe, watching the last visitors go home, when Robert sat down next to her. You know what impressed me the most? Amanda asked tiredly. You didn't just give out money or gifts. You created a system. You involved the local community. You made sure that the help was sustainable. He took an envelope from his jacket pocket. Here is the contract, if you're still interested. Amanda nodded. She was ready. What's more, she knew that first step, that evening when she saw the frightened boy outside the cafe window, was for this very moment. Sunlight flooded into the spacious office of the New Horizons Charity Foundation. Amanda sat at her desk, reviewing documents for a new project. It had been 6 months since she had left her job at the cafe, but sometimes she felt like it was in another life. Sophia, her new co-worker, quickly entered the office. Amanda, we have problems with the shelter on Zakidna Street. The funding is delayed again. Give me 5 minutes. Amanda kept her eyes on the papers. I'll call the bank director personally. You're incredible, Sophia shook her head. Robert appeared in the office doorway. Amanda, do you have a minute? Sure, she put the papers down. The board of directors has approved your cafeteria project, he put a new folder in front of her. But some people still have doubts. Amanda straightened up in her chair. Because of my lack of experience, because of our unconventional approach, Robert sat down on the edge of the table. Not everyone understands why we have to cooperate with small cafes instead of opening our own establishments. Because it's more efficient, Amanda said firmly. I talked to Margaret and the other owners. They know their neighborhoods, they know the people. They just need support. Robert smiled. That's why I hired you. You understand people, Amanda. You see solutions where others only see problems. In the evening, on her way back to her new apartment, Amanda received another message. This time it was from Robert. Tickets are booked. We're flying to Germany next month to open a branch. Theo is already planning a tour of his school. Amanda stopped at her living room window. Below her, the lights of the city were flashing, the same as 6 months ago, but her life was completely different now. She pulled an old waitress apron out of a drawer and ran her fingers over the worn fabric. The phone rang, and Theo's photo appeared on the screen. Hi! The boy's voice was joyful. I know we had an appointment for Sunday, but I wanted to show off. I got the highest grade on my history project. That's great. Amanda felt tears of joy well up in her eyes. I knew you could do it. It's all thanks to you, Theo said quietly. If you hadn't helped me, then... No, darling, Amanda interrupted him. You helped me. You helped me realize that sometimes the simplest thing you do can change someone's life. Uncle Robert says the same thing, Theo laughed. You know, he always says that hiring you was the best decision he ever made." Amanda smiled. "And for me, the best decision was to give you that lunch." After the conversation, she stood by the window for a long time. From the small room above the cafe, she could only see a sliver of sky. Now the whole city stretched out before her as a symbol of new opportunities, a new life. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness. She didn't know who she was thanking: Theo, Robert, fate, or the version of herself that had dared to listen to her heart 6 months ago.